All right, let me start this over. And the reason why I'm starting it over is because I lost connection. I don't know what the heck happened. But My Nagging Wife is the title. And this is a story that I distinctly remember often having this conversation with friends, my dad, my boss. It was a constant narrative in my life, which was, my wife is nagging. I constantly heard, where are you going? Why are you going there? Where have you been? What are you doing? Why does it take that long? Do you really need to go do that? It was a constant narrative, a constant something coming up. And what I realize is that the inside of this is the same story on the other side, which is, why do I always have to be doing these things? And the funny thing is inside of these stories, inside of these things that we're telling ourselves and the things that we're going to other people for advice for, lies the answer. Our wives didn't nag when they weren't our wives. We always talk about this story of, our wives were so cool, our wives did this, our wives did that. And I guarantee it's on the other side with the wives saying that our husbands were so cool, our husbands were so engaged, our husbands really went above and beyond, and it all completely changed once we got married. And it's funny because the reality of the situation is that we both create it. We both stop dating. We both stop pushing. We both stop trying to understand. We both stop communicating. You see, in my life, in my career, in everything that I was doing, I was very, very successful. What's up, Kevin? I was moving up. I was doing everything that I should have been doing business-wise. And inside of that, I had this theory that I had to be this A-type personality, that I had to be this no empathy, no anything. And I remember having conversations with people that I worked with, and arguments and joking and having fun with the fact that, you're the highest read, or you're the highest A-type personality, or you've got zero empathy when it comes to anything. Like you're constantly like you just operate inside of work and think this way and think that way. And I remember these conversations over and over and over again. They were just as much a narrative in my life as the this is my nagging wife narrative. And it was it's completely crazy to think that I could be so successful in one area, but I couldn't seem to figure it out in the other area. I was constantly complaining and bitching about the fact that my wife was nagging. And the reality of the situation is that I wasn't showing up. I didn't give her what she deserved. I didn't give her what she needed. I wasn't dating her. I wasn't doing all these things that I needed to be doing. I wasn't empathetically listening. I wasn't caring about what she had to say. I was in a training the other day, and I was listening to one of my clients sit there and talk about how his ex-wife was nagging and going crazy and constantly giving him a bunch of shit and creating all this chaos in his life. And I asked him a simple question. The simple question was, are you trying to understand where she's coming from? And he goes, well, what do you mean? Why would I try to understand where she's coming from? I'm just trying to get her to hear me and hear where I'm at, and yada, yada, yada. I said, well, man, I mean, think about this for a minute. If you aren't giving her the time and trying to understand where she's coming from, why would she try to understand where you're coming from? Like, you have to understand to be understood. you have to listen to be heard. I mean, this goes back to the things that we learned as young children, where, treat others as you want to be treated. I mean, something as simple as that, something going back to your to your preschool days or daycare days. I don't know. I remember hearing this my entire life: treat others as you want to be treated. And I never really realized the way that I was treating people. I just thought that I was being the best boss that I could be. I thought that I was being the best husband that I could be by providing and doing all these different things. And I can tell you this with 100% certainty. I have never felt more pride in my life than I did the other night on my walk with my wife. And it was something that was one of the nagging experiences throughout our entire marriage, which was she wanted me to be her best friend. And we were on our walk the other night, and she came out and said that I was her best friend. And I felt this overwhelming sense of pride, this overwhelming sense of change inside of me and accomplishment. And I mean, I guess if I could do it, and I'm sure you've heard this 100 times from 100 different people, but I guess if I could do that and create that experience inside of my marriage, anybody can. I mean, coming from this experience of being the highest A-type and priding myself on being this A-type personality and not having any empathy. I remember going in and filling out this form for this personality test where they come out and this guy says, "Man, I have never seen anything like this. You are the perfect executive." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "You have no empathy. You operate inside of the facts. You constantly push and try to get the best out of people, and you'll only have empathy for people when it benefits the business." I remember that being a prideful moment in my life, and thinking that I arrived, and thinking that, man, like, I can go anywhere, I can do anything. If that's the way I operate, then anybody would want me. Except for the people that matter the most in my life, which is my wife, my kids. Like, they definitely did not want me that way. They definitely didn't need me that way. That's not what they were looking for. So I guess where this video is going is, like, challenge the narrative, challenge the story, challenge the thing that you're saying inside of your head. My nagging wife, if your story's starting out that way, look in the mirror. Take a few minutes and try to understand why maybe she might be nagging at you. Last night my wife and I were walking, and we were having a discussion about this specific topic, about the reason why she would come at me and do things. And it was normally just to get some sort of attention from me, to get me to pay attention, to get me to focus. Any kind of attention was good attention, even if it was negative, which is a sad thing to hear, but it's also a good thing to hear, because it just goes to show how far we've come for her to be able to have that conversation with me. And it was amazing to hear her say that thanks, Eric. I appreciate that, man. I mean, we've had this nagging wife conversation before. It's crazy to sit and think, like, how far it's come and what the things are that we've accomplished for her to be able to say that to me, for her to be able to say that I'm her best friend, for her to be able to have these conversations with me about our past and the way that I sit down and try to understand where she's at now. and she brought up the fact that that I'm the cool head in the conversation now, and that I diffuse the situation and try to actually hear where she's coming from and give her what she needs, and try to get to the root of the actual problem rather than dealing with the surface level shit. And I gotta tell you guys, this shit did not happen overnight. Like, a lot of you guys know the work that I've done over the past 3-4 years, and there wasn't, I mean, to give you a little bit of background, I mean, 4 years of doing work and going through this and trying to listen, trying to understand, trying to become this new person. And it took all of that 4 years to get to this point. It took all of that 4 years for her to be able to tell me that I'm her best friend. It took all of them 4 years for her to trust me to give me how she's truly feeling. And it really is a prideful moment. And we try to sit and think of the different things that come up, which are like one of the biggest things one of my coaches told me is that you are who your daughter will marry. You are how your son will treat his wife. Is this, and is the way that you're operating acceptable for your daughter? Is the way that you're operating acceptable for your son to treat somebody else? And it was something that really stuck with me, and something that I really tried hard to change, because that's not who I wanted to be. That's not who I wanted them to be. And again, it's just another prideful moment. So, I mean, if you're sitting there and telling yourself this story of nagging wife, or any other crazy stories about the boss that's constantly coming down on you, or all these different things, if you're playing a victim in any way, the first place that you need to look is the mirror, because you're playing a victim to yourself first. And you need to understand yourself and where your mindset is, and where you've gone, and the things that you've changed, and why you're in this situation. Because the majority of every situation, I can promise you, is on you. Well, that's what I got for you guys today. Take a look in the mirror. Take some time today and just spend some time looking at yourself in the mirror, and going through these stories and dissecting where you're at. Have a great evening, or wow, it's morning. Have a great morning this morning, and have a great day, guys. I got to go jump on a flight and get after it. So, talk to you guys later.